Chopin seems so natural, simple, and at the same time so elegant, because it is elegant in the gesture of the melody, with the ascending sixth, embracing the fifth. In the parenthesis, and the continuation of the statement, and another parenthesis. So the narration evolves through different kinds of expression, either very calm, with long values, relative major, A major, it's not relative, this major, return C sharp minor, five of five, but also introverted the two expressions of the long values and then the decorative dense. You can almost see the limbs leap over the ground. It's so choreographic. And then the left hand with a slightly delayed but not too affectedly delayed second beat. Voicing of perhaps a middle voice expression. Of course, it depends how sophisticated the voicing is for the pianist's capacity. Not necessarily meaningful, because it could be just packages of chords and it's still pretty. After all, it's a harmonization, it's not more than that, not less, but not more. Or perhaps is it? There isn't not in Chopin a hidden desire to embed in elegant but discreet motion. Way of suggesting without imposing contrapoint and complexity. He doesn't want to appear like heavily involved, but there is, in the elegance of the withheld feeling, everything is inside. And of course the short long adds to the leap up. Everything is always up, nothing is settled, because the downbeat of course is the long and the short for the right hand. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. But the left hand is not. It's not a downbeatish thing. It is about, the downbeat is a pizzicato, rebounds and resonant. The harmony will blossom on the resonance residue of the bass. That's why the foot is so meaningful to the right foot mostly, to the whole mix, because if it's overstays, it becomes like a chorale. Of course, anything is Bach once you harmonize and you put it into the arpeggios, like the first prelude. Of course, because it is tonal and harmonized, but this harmonization comes on the second beat. Short, long, short, long, short, long with appoggiatura. And then short, long with the relative, not relative, major. Circle of fifths. Or, yeah, so Bach everywhere. Circle of fifths, harmonies, tossed on the second beat, while the melody is on the downbeat. And at the very end, of course, we will play the notes of Chopin's indication, but that is just to say that we can also play with the intention of Chopin. And once we know, we feel, we organize, we are in the tracks of it, we can feel free during practice to explore different elements of it, the rhythmic, the pulse, the melodic, the harmonic, the pedal, the articulation, the quality of the sound, the connection over the rests, which means that the pedal should not hold, because then of course it's abrasive too much, which means that the harmonies have to be finger held in the second half of the bar, 3 and 4 of the 4 bars hypermeter, 1, 2, 3, 4, basically it's in 12/4 by the harmonization but also by the melodic line. Is not to always drop at the end of the 4th bar as if to speak, always like this, in this way, it's always predictable, and I go up and down, and I this. No. Sometimes I go up to stay up for a 4 long, and I bridge forward, and which is exactly what happens 4th bar. We can close it over, or we can open, diminuendo and now crescendo. Sustain more than crescendo, because the common note between C sharp minor triad of the opening tonic and the A major we will play the next 4 bars is C sharp. Therefore, this C sharp should be question mark open phrase, open sentence. And follow the chromatic descent through and above the breath and the rest. The breath, as if it's mentally suggestive of held, like remember me. Of course, he doesn't repeat it. That's why, because he's elegant, that he's not insisting. Flies away like a bird, soaring in the sky and disappearing in our cheesy inspiration. Sorry for the bass. So 3-dimensional chordal voicing. Close-up, played with 3rd finger for this shifting, anticipated, prepared after the 3rd beat of the next verse, to play it from close-up, and to shape it, sculpt it, love it, and sometimes organize it through 4 bars. So you have a melodic bass, a harmonic voicing in the secondary voice of the harmony, all that under the melody. Who's to say it's not sophisticated? Could have been. No, there's no Alberti waltz. Well, there are, but not by Chopin, at least. therefore if you bridge through the 4th bar, then you go to the 8th bar, and then you realize that you return to C sharp minor, which you didn't leave, you just went on the 6th degree. And then a circle of 5ths in the bass. And return. So you could say that is a 16-bar phrase, but then again he has this little bridge, which he writes in one single throw of melodic phrasing. It doesn't mean that it's legato, but it doesn't mean it's not legato. It means that the repeated notes have to be replayed inside the lifting halfway of the key. Ta-ha, 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 ta-ha. Yeah, the feeling musically that suggests suggestive of sigh, of tears perhaps, and at least of some regret. Slowly dropping by semitone till the end with a full tone at the end. In the second and third time, or more times when it comes back through the rondo form of it, you could voice out also the top voice, and then in the answer, in the bottom. And then it's a dialogue of 2 parts. Soprano, alto, soprano. That is a possible alternative voicing. Not necessarily all the time, and sometimes perhaps not at all. It has to be your fancy on the moment. And also, but you have to explore it and you practice, of course. That's what I suggest. And then comes the most unexplainable, the element that creates the whole uplifting of the spirit is the rubato. Structural on 8th or 16th bars, but that becomes too mathematical to my taste. Or at least it should be intuitive and then become that in an understood tension release, delay release of tension, and then bridged release after a connected tension. All these things are embedded in the melodic line. And then always a descending chromatic scale, the decay, the nostalgia, as Berlioz said in eulogy of Chopin's grave, that he kept dying all his life long in those descending chromaticisms. It's nostalgia for Poland, nostalgia for that past. It's in fact a romantic era posture, the nostalgia by itself. And then it's all cleared up by the first, after ritornello. Purely dance waltz, no more melodic line, no secondary voice, no contrapoint. Well, it is possible to even suggestively find it there in the accompaniment. But I think it would make it, it's Napolitan 6th. It will make it overly intellectual. I think it's better to let that rolling continuous 8th notes. Perhaps the first note slightly voiced, like a little bell. But not try to find harmonizations in the harmonizations which practice to feel that 5, 1, 5, 6, the acceptive cadence, Neapolitan 2nd flat degree and 6th bar position, return. Okay, that is the harmonization skeleton, but when you play it, to say it so fast either. Perhaps it's just more fleeing than fast. One difficult note to play is the bass, because the keys are heavy in the low register and you have to play them from close up to be soft but spoken, like blossom. pizzicato with vibrato, but soft, with mute. Basically 2 hands for a left hand alone. And not too much rubato, but it's tempting to delay the second from the third, or the first from the second beats. And let the veil unveil itself. Like as if this kind of swirl is giving you in the dancing floor, on the dance floor, it gives you the sense of vertigo, delicious vertigo of spinning with your partner. So I would say it's more the singing part of the waltz, the lyrical moment, the thematical moment, and the purely dance moment. 1, 2, 3. Faster, overly faster, who is to know? But in any case, it should be so intuitive in the transition between one tempo and a slightly faster. While I would suggest to avoid the poco a poco accelerando, because that steam locomotive syndrome of starting after the station and warming up and hitting up a faster speed in a sense of ever crescendo and accelerando. I think makes it comical, but tempting. Sometimes bad taste is most tempting than good. But in this case I would suggest to stay very organized by the melodic first notes and the bass notes. And then second and third beat, harmonization, and then the ornamentation, decoration rather, with a neighboring tone, and then the arpeggio. Perhaps lazily delay some second finger for a slightly delayed and so appearing middle note voice. I don't think so. No, that was wrong. Passing tone, a leading tone, 2 in a row, 5 or 5 and 5 1. It goes so fast that nobody has time to analyze. But for the fingering, 1 2 1 2 3 4 1, or 2 1 2 1 3. To practice the evenness, I would go for the hold and poke and the rhythm, but not the accent. And practice the arrival to the leap of the next first stop. And separation and articulation of the common tendon cabled hand 4-5 and 4-3. And feel it. So you can play as articulated and as the naturally cabled individual tendon for 1, 2 and 3. So it doesn't sound glued and then clear. It's very tempting. An air legato with slight pedal rather than heavy legato with fingers overstaying their welcome plus the pedal. Perhaps the dynamically pianissimo, but I think is dangerous. Besides, the arrival point of each 6th, 8th note is the thumb. Avoid playing the thumb heavy and horizontal, therefore it has to drop from the palm of the articulation itself, actually, by its knuckle. So it's good to practice. The other one's held, and the thumb practicing its independent articulation to become a 5th finger, like a vertical kind, with just A very little of skin touching the ivory, equally little as 4/5 and 4/3. The acoustic is very, very wet and very resonant in the hall where you play. Of course, then you don't need pedal, and just articulation. Air legato. If it's dry like in this room, because obviously it's not a hall, you can compensate slightly with the pedal, but perhaps half pedal for the first half of the bar. Fetch your bass, prepare your harmony, anticipate your pedal, half pedal, prepare the position for the articulations of the falling or vertical fingers and the horizontal finger in a diagonal position sideways. So you beat nature by giving the impression that you have equal 5 vertical fingers. Not to mention the topography of the black and white keys. It would be so different in C minor or in E minor, because you have less black keys. You have to be very close navigating between the black keys into the white keys to play clean. Because the keys come in one size, but not the hands and the fingers. And try to play always on the edge of the key, because that's where it speaks right away, to the leverage of the action of the instrument. The more you play inside the keyboard, the heavier it is to play soft, because of the action, and the finger of the keys don't lift as fast under the fingers as on the edge. Of course you can use the unicorda, or not. Some pianos unicorda kills the sound, and the others it still speaks with the song but slightly withheld. So make sure that you don't use unicorda too much, because you want the sound to be soft, whispered, but elegant and eloquent, even in the whisper. So you have to adjust the acoustic to the piano, to the fingers, to the articulation, to the musical idea, to the group of bars, to the super phrasing, and to a certain rubato, and all that should appear artificially spontaneous. Sometimes a melody can almost emerge, but almost as if besides itself. Or not besides itself, just Scarlatti style, clear, 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 every note. Slightly tipsy with the appoggiatura being the departure of the rubato. So, and using the last eighth note leaping up to the first next, like the opening, leaps by the sixth. Being different, one sung, one danced, one swirled, one in continuous motion, one with counterpoint. They do have, of course, a lot in common this way. And then the middle section, the arrival in major. Of the major, not as the triumph of joy, happiness, and out of the minor, which was not sad, but nostalgic, which is happy in the past. And so it's not so the only sad. If the whole waltz was in major, it would be still elegant, and the minor just adds a little bit to the sadness, but more, I think, is nostalgia, which is not sadness of the present, it is, but it's because it's evocative of the happiness of the past that you recollect. And so when you go really in major, it could be still this daydream of, oh, what if it was already still back then, or it still could be tomorrow, like before. say it, because we just play, we don't speak, except in a demonstration like this. Useful for the pianist to use the melodic line as a phrase to first organize the whole sentence. And then with the middle voice of the harmony. With the bass and the tenor going up chromatically. Instilling that sense of hope that is rising while the melody drops. But it's very much of a fake major in the sense of the reality. It's more a daydreamed major. It's not the solution to the troubles in minor. It's more like a moment where you just remember and recall, and you almost live and relive the happiness as it used to be, and then you return to it, from it rather. With this mindless swirl, as if to forget that you are not in that past that you yearn for when you return. And the second time is perhaps more tired, more rubato, more or less with less illusion. The legato of the repeated notes, half in the keys. The pedal that doesn't pour ketchup all over this, and just a little halo. Played Baroque mordent à l'espagnol, rhythmically embedded in the melodic line. And he returns again. So it's A, B, A, C, A, B, A, prime, B, prime, or third time. Is improvised, so it might have continued. It could have added a little coda. Which thankfully he didn't do, because it would have been too much, to say the least. Besides wrong, since he didn't write it. But he didn't always write, he improvised, so who knows if he didn't then end with some kind of codetta. And I think it's good to end not too slow, with the second beat interrupted up as if the dancers are frozen, like in some images of films. They're frozen in the air at the end. And it continues in your... The waves of the music continues to play in your inner heart, soul, life. It never leaves you. It's almost like an enticing parfum that you smelled, and you, reminds me of this, reminds me of this, reminds me of there. So it's so atmospheric and so little real sounding, and more on the edge of the keys, on the edge of the sound, with a inspired, eloquent whisper, and perhaps light abandon on the first beat before the second. In the ascension of the circle of fifths, a little bit forward driven, and then in the descent of the whip ritenuto. But how much? Not too much is in the eye of the beholder. Played straight is meaningless, played over rubato is meaningless too, in a different way. So it's difficult to find the right tone, the right expression. Not too much, not too little, just what it is. have a lot of elements of practice, and it becomes mechanical, and we forget about the meaning of it. And when we play through it, we have to be re-inspired as if it's the first time we lay eye and ear on it, and we go, oh, how beautiful. Of course, it's artificial because we know how beautiful it is, and perhaps sometimes by over practicing the details, we lose the first love at first sight that it is with a work like this, like with a human. But it turns out that it's a gift that keeps on giving, because no matter what, after many decades, it's still most charming partner to have, to play to you and through you to the audience. It's imaginary life that you translate to the audience. It's a life companion in many aspects. Perhaps doesn't wrinkle and doesn't age, but evolves with your wrinkles and age, and your nostalgia becomes the one of your small life compared to the eternal life of the waltz, since Chopin wrote it, and for many, many lives to come, who will set their eye and their soul and their enmarveled feelings and terms of endearments on it. Perhaps smile with a tear, or just tears, or perhaps just smiles. Thank you.